Okay, the shir is be in the Aliyas Neshama of a very special lady. Rachel Ite Basarav Yisrael Isser Alevi, very, very close friends of my parents. And so Leia's mother, who I think they even made Sheva brachas for us. Yeah, that was only 58 years ago. So I mean, that's right. Yeah, I still. Oh boy, do I remember it. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, we should just the Shema should have an Aliyah and Lichtik and Gan Eden. Okay, this Shabbos. We've got a lot of people here that should. I gotta cut this out. I don't know what this is. I don't need to know what you're cooking. Hmm. Oh. Okay. All right, here we go. So it's Shabbos Chazon. It's the Shabbos before Tisha B'Av. And in this year, it's unique. It's the day before Tisha B'Av. There is no Shavua Shechalbo Tisha B'Av. There is no, in this way, the Ashkenazim and the Sfardim pretty much come together because they don't eat. When I say together, they have a kula in that we don't eat meat the whole 9 days, and they don't eat meat if in the week that Tisha B'Av falls. So it falls on Tuesday, they don't have meat on Sunday and Monday and so on. This year they can have meat the whole week because there is no Shua Shechalbo. Okay. So I want to just repeat a number of things that we have said in the past and then take out of it something that is really very relevant for the present and the future. Our calendar, the calendar of the Jewish people, the life cycle of the year of the Jewish people is marked with what we call Moadim, and another word for it is Yomim Tovim. The special times. Moed, a special time. And the root of Moed, as we've said, is Ad, like Ya'ad, destiny. The purpose of the Yom Tov, the purpose of every one of the Moadim is to bring us to our Moed. To our Moed is our destiny, which we'll soon see is really a different way of saying to bring us to Olam Haba. In other words, the Yontif should not be something that just passes us by. The Yontif is not something that we just have to put effort in and sit back and enjoy the delicious food and family and so on and so forth. But there are spiritual sparks that are latent from the fact that there was a miracle that took place that established the Yom Tov, the Moed, and those sparks can be reignited every year as the cycle goes on. Now, the point here is clearly it's not an anniversary. It's not something that took place a long time ago and we're celebrating an anniversary. It is, we are reliving it. In order to ignite those sparks, we have to reignite the events that took place. Rav Daniel Mavshavitz of Kelm had a very beautiful way of defining it. He explained that the world perceives time as something as linear. It just keeps on flowing without a beginning, without an end. Time is it's a flow. The time flows, or better, that flies, believe me. So time has a beginning, though. It had a beginning. There was a time when there was no time. When was that? Well, we know that the world was created with 10 statements, say Chazal and Pirkei Avos, Asara Ma'amaros Nivra Olam. Yet when you go through, all you find is how many? 9. So but he says 10. So Chazal say, Bereshis Namar Nami Ma'amarhu. That the word Bereshis, when it says Bereshis Bara Elokim, that Bereshis was a statement. So the Gemara then asks, or the Meforshim asks, what was created with Bereshis? With the word Bereshis. So the Gaon of Vilna defines Bereshis as the creation of time. Time is a creation. It began at a certain point, not in time, but at a certain point that was the first moment of time. And he explains that each one of the Yomim Tovim, of the Moadim, are stations in time. And that we can stop. We're traveling on the train of time. We have opportunities to stop at the station and extract from the station the wonder and beauty and power and ruchnius that it contains, those sparks. I remember when I first came to Eretz Yisrael, many, many years ago, 60 some odd years ago, I went by boat. That was the cheapest way to get here. And it took me 13 days. And on the way, we made a number of stops in Europe, Naples, Piraeus, so on. And what was interesting was that every time we stopped, we would be able to disembark and see. I remember watching Naples wake up in the morning. They were delivering bread and milk and things like that. It was, for a guy that was brought up in Chicago, it was kind of a unique feeling to see how the rest of the world lived. But anyway, what if I went and said, you know what, I'm very tired, I'll go to sleep. And I'll wait till everybody comes back, and then we'll go again. My goal is to get there to Yisrael. But I will have missed something in the course of time. I would have missed seeing Naples wake up. I would have missed experiencing something that has remained with me for many, many years. That is what a Yom Tov is. It's a station in time, and we dare not sleep through that station. Joey used to have a beautiful story. Do you remember the story about it? So if you don't remember it, I'll tell it. About the man who wanted to go to Pinsk. Okay, he got on a train. He said, I need to go to Pinsk. He says, okay, not Minsk, but Pinsk. Okay? I need to be in Pinsk. So you wake me up if I fall asleep. Sure enough, train goes out. Comes to Minsk, and he's up, and I wanted to get off at Pinsk. What are you doing to me? Why didn't you wake me up? And he starts yelling at the conductor, you were supposed to wake me up. He said, then he was stoic. So he says, how can you just stand there? He said to him, you should see what the guy I threw off the train in Pinsk did to me. Don't sleep through the station. Don't sleep through Yom Tov. What is interesting is Tisha B'Av is also called the Moed. V'kora olai Moed. Crying on Tisha B'Av is a part of the process by which we move forward to our ultimate goal. It leads us to our destiny, but we have to know how to take advantage of it. Some of the others are a little bit easier, right? Half the time you don't understand the word of the kinnis anyway. And half the time, we're busy thinking about what we're going to make for after the tightness. And half the time, we got a headache. And half the time, we're not. What do we do? What are we supposed to do? So it's very interesting. It says that you're supposed to cry, to mourn, to cry. So Chazal tell us that when they put Moshe Rabbeinu into the basket, into the Nile, so Bas Paro saw it, Vatiftach vatireu v'hinei nar boche. She saw that there was a child who was crying. Vatomer, and she said, Miyaldei ha'ivrim zeh. This is a Jewish baby. So obviously she knew, by the way he was crying, that it was a Jewish baby. There were a lot of people that wanted to, they were worried about not just Jews, they were worried about the whole world. All of their slaves getting free. So maybe it was some other slaves that put their baby in the thing and they were killing all the boys. They didn't know exactly which is who was who. And yet, Basia was able to identify, and she said, Miyaldei ha'ivrim zeh. This is a Jewish baby. How did she know? So Chazal tell us the way she knew was because of the way he was crying. His crying was not a distress call. His crying was not a despair. Out of despair, his crying was a hopeful cry. Now, what is a hopeful cry? What is a hopeful cry? A hopeful cry is saying like this, I moved. That's why I cry. Don't think for a moment and don't think for a moment. It's all right. Everything's fine. Don't think for a moment that it was a cry of despair that Klal Yisrael has to feel during these days, especially certainly not on Shabbos, but even during the week of the 9 days. It's not a cry of despair. It's not even, I wish it would be able to, we could say, Oi, I don't have a Beis HaMikdash anymore. I don't have the Beis HaMikdash anymore. I don't have korbanos. I remember we said the other week, anybody here desires to bring a korban? You can't wait to bring your korban, take the animal, slit its throat, spritz its blood, and all that wonderful stuff. No one has that desire unless you really understand what you're doing and what it is. But let's just be honest with ourselves. So what are we hoping for? Is it that we want? What we want is the return of the Shekhinah. Now, it's not crying because of what I don't have. I'm crying to express how much I want it to return. I know it's gone. It's been 2,000 years that it's gone, more than that, almost. How can I relate to that? When I really think about being honest, but the point that we have to understand here on this period of time that we are now going through, this Moed that is coming, the Korah Moed, that Tisha B'Av is a Moed, and Yom Tif doesn't mean a Yom Tif, it means it's bringing us to our goal. It has a beginning time, which was, we said, Bereshis, the end product is Olam Haba. This is what we need to use this time for. Had we, Klal Yisrael, not been yearning and shedding tears from our yearning, because of our yearning, we would have forgot about the Beis HaMikdash a long time ago. A long time ago. Okay, now, our avoda, what we have to think about and what we have to pay attention to during these 9 days is for a sense of wanting and desiring a higher level of ruchnius. What does it mean having the Shekhinah come back? Having the Shekhinah among us means that it defines our behavior. It defines our behavior. You're not going to walk into the Beis HaMikdash with your shoes on. You know that? You're not supposed to walk into the Beis HaMikdash with your shoes. You know why? Because, we don't wear shoes on Tisha B'Av. You know why? We don't wear shoes on Yom Kippur. Why? Because, I got news for you. The shoes that we wear on Tisha B'Av and Yom Kippur are far more comfortable than the leather shoes we wear during the week. No? So what's the big deal? Teretz says that's not why we don't wear shoes or leather shoes. Because you see, when you wear leather shoes, you can go wherever you want. You're going to walk through thorns and thickets and all kinds of dust and sand and dirt and mud. You got shoes on. Without shoes, You can't go where you want. You can only go on a paved path, on a path that is set for you. That's what we want to show on Yom Kippur and Tisha B'Av. When we take off our shoes, it's not the taking off the shoes to make myself so terribly uncomfortable. It's to make me acknowledge that I'm walking in the path that I'm supposed to be walking. Kadosh Baruch Hu, He has changed. The presence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Shekhinah, changes how I behave and how I act. And the way we express that, as I said, is the yearning for it to come back. Every single day, except perhaps on Shabbos, 3 times a day. If you daven 3 times a day, we say, "Semach David Abdecha Meheros Atzmiyach." Bring the that which blossoms from David HaMelech. What's the tzemach? What grew out of David HaMelech is Mashiach. It's tzemach David Abdecha b'meheirot hatzmiach. I want it very fast. It should appear. It should grow. It should blossom. Why? Ki means because here. Ki lishuascha kivinu kol hayom. We say because we want it all day, every day, 3 times a day. We want it. We're hoping for it to come back to us. So that's the reason we give in asking Hashem to send the Mashiach. It's because we really want him to come. So that is our focus now, at least during these days. It should be every day. But at least during these days when it's more conducive to think about, do I really want him to come? I remember before I got married, wonderful, very exciting. But we had a very unfortunate long engagement. So every time I said, as Samach David Abdecha Meheros Atzmiach, I said, well, can you just wait until after I get married and then we'll do it? Then you'll come. That's a young person, because we don't know what it means that Mashiach is going to come. Can you imagine having Mashiach be the Masada Kedushin? Now, wouldn't that have been, why didn't I think that way? That would have been something. Anyway, so we want to ignite that spark that I spoke about. No matter how far we've fallen, no matter where we're holding as an individual, that spark can be reignited because it's always there. Every Jew has a spark. And the Pasuk says it openly. It's a Pasuk in Dvorim. Perek Dalet, and it says, "Vehefitz Hashem eschem bo'amim," and Hashem will spread you out among the nations, v'nishartem b'sei mispar, and you're going to remain few in number compared to the rest of the world. B'goyim asher yenayig Hashem eschem shama, you'll be always a minority, except in Eretz Yisrael. V'avadetem shom Elohim ma'aseh yedei adam, and you're going to serve people who serve idols, eitz v'evan, wood and stone. By the way, I mentioned this before too. You know why the Torah Pasuk says wood and stone? Because the only time we were forced to serve other gods was either by Christians or Muslims. Eitz is a wooden sailor. It's a cross. It's made out of wood. Even we're the Muslims. Oh boy, do they try to force us. And that's the stone of Kaaba. Pasuk says it openly. Maaseh yedei adam eitz v'evan asher lo yirun. They don't see, v'lo yishmun. They don't hear, v'lo yochlun. They don't eat, v'lo yirichun. They don't smell. That's what we're going to be stuck with among those nations of the world. Ubikashtem misham es Hashem Elokecha. And it's amongst that kind of suffering, that kind of pain, that kind of lowly state of insignificance, as it were, that ubikashtem misham es Hashem Elokecha. From the lowest of the low that you could possibly have fallen and assimilated and become a part of that society, you will seek out Hashem u'matzasa, but you'll find him. on one condition. It has to be real. You have to really, it has to be, it's really what you want. If this is really what you want, you can have it and you'll get it. And that spark will turn into a powerful flame. So even if we've reached that distant sense that we're not feeling, we don't have that yearning feeling, we can reignite that flame. And let me show you something. You know, we have to learn from what everything Hashem does is midah keneged midah. If we're numb to Kedusha, he's going to wake us up. So much pain, so much suffering Klal Yisrael has endured, certainly in the last almost 2 years. Constantly, the world, with all its sophistication and brilliance and power and who knows what, denies the reality of Klal Yisrael to belong in Eretz Yisrael. You have to be deaf, dumb, blind, an idiot, and not give a darn to truth to come along and say that. How can you say that? You know, it's open, it's clear, it's what? No. They won't accept it. We become, occupiers in our own country. But the darker the state we find ourselves in, the greater the flame will be when we reignite it. And we have help if we want it. And what's the help? When the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed and the Goyim came into the Kodesh HaKadoshim, what did they find? The Kruvim. Kruvim was this young girl, boy, beautiful. I mentioned that their faces were cherubic or whatever the word is. Gorgeous, Babelach, not Babelach, children. Hugging and embracing and in a love embrace. So the Goyim come out of there, you see what the Jews gods are thinking about? They're pedophiles. What a chilul Hashem. Not a chilul Hashem. Why did Hashem allow it to happen? You know, it was a miracle that they were embracing. Because when we do Hashem's will, they're embracing. When we're not doing Hashem's will, they're facing the wall. And even though it was a solid block of gold, how did that happen? Because Hashem wanted it that way. That's why it happened. To teach us something. And yet here at the Churban, when we were doing the least to do what Hashem wants, they were found to be embracing. Why? Because Hashem telling us very clearly, you're not going to get, I hate to use the term, but you're not going to get rid of me. I'm with you. I am with you and will be with you no matter where you are, because I love you and I'm willing to withstand the horrible chilul Hashem. Just for you to know that. You know, the Ponevezh Rav, there's a tzaddik Livracha who built the Ponevezh Yeshiva, who built Bnei Brak, literally, as a Torah city, was in Rome during the 9 days, collecting money for the yeshiva. It was it was a rainy day, it was horrible, it was just, the weather was, nobody was outside, come on. And he had a driver, and he said to the driver, I want you to take me to the Arch of Titus in Rome. Because he couldn't go anybody who was not there to give him any money, that he was going to visit, and so on and so forth. Hey, take me there. I want to see the Arch of Titus. He gets out of the cab in the rain, gets to the arch, looks up at the arch and says, Titus, where are you? I'm still here. Here I am. We're here. Over 2,000 years they've been trying to destroy us, try to obliterate us. They can't do it. Hadrian. Hadrian. He's the one that killed Rabbi Akiva in Caesarea. He's the one that destroyed Beitar. You know what it means to destroy Beitar? We're suffering terribly now, and I'm not minimizing it in any way. But the Gemara tells us that Beitar, you know where Beitar is, not far, right? From Beitar to the ocean, blood was flowing like a river to the ocean from all the Jews that they killed in Beitar. That was a horrible, horrible tragedy. And that was Hadrian. In 1988, the Israel Museum undertook a traveling exhibition with all its religious and historical treasures. And one of the treasures was a display, a big display of a bronze bust of the Roman Emperor Hadrian. The only way you could see this bust was through the courtesy of the Israeli Ministry of Art and Antiquities, who sponsored the tour. Thomas Hoving was the curator and director of the New York Metropolitan Museum of Art. And you get these taped tours. So when you get to the bust of Hadrian, he said, not me, he. It is an irony of history that Hadrian enjoys benign captivity in the permanent exhibit of the Israel Museum in Jerusalem, the homeland of the people he devoted over 3 years of his life to destroy. Titus, we're still here. The Rashba, famous Rashba, Reb Shlomo ben Aderes, was among the great Talmidei Chachamim. Obviously, he was a Rishon, and he was called upon to debate Yiddishkeit against Christianity. Thomas Aquinas, who is the most accepted expositor of Catholic philosophy, and anyone studying to be a priest has to go through his stuff. And one of the major volumes that he authored was called the Summa Theologica. He was appointed to publicly debate the Rashba. And of course, it was fixed. So Dayan Ehrenshoy, Zechariah Tzadik Levracha, Dayan Rosh Bezdin in London, went to a bookstore, a very famous bookstore in England called Foyle's. Foyle's bookstore, anything you want, it's like Brentano's. I know my day in Chicago was Brentano's. You get anything you want. In Foyle's, you get anything you want. So he asked the fella who was in charge there, the manager, he said to him, how many volumes of the Summa Theologica of Thomas Aquinas did you sell in this past year? So he answered him, I can believe this. He said there were only 2 volumes sold in the last 3 years and none this year. Yet we know the Rashba that debated with Thomas Aquinas. Tens of thousands of copies of the Rashba are sitting in every house, in every Torah house, in every yeshiva, in every base medrash, in every base knesset. The Rashba. Learning the Rashba. That's not telling you that we have a hug, a beautiful hug, a Kadosh Baruch Hu is embracing us with everything that we could possibly want. Our existence, our tranquility, our love for each other, our love for the Rebbeinu Shalom. That's because of that hug. There's a question, just a note. I'll pick it up. It's a very interesting. Gemara asks a question. It's a Navi. Al Moed the Haaretz. Why did we lose the land? Mia Aish. This is a Yirmiyahu. Mia Aish Hachacham v'Yavein is those. Who is the wise man that understands this? Vasher Diber Dvara Pi Hashem Elov that Hashem v'Yagida. So obviously he's talking to Nevi'im. He's talking to Chachamim. V'Yagida Amal of the Haaretz. Why did we lose the land? It's become desolate. There's a desert, no one living here. Vayomer Hashem. And Hashem said, Al Ozlam es Torasi. They forsook my Torah. Asher nosati lifneim v'lo shamu b'koli, and they didn't listen to my voice. V'lo holchu ba, and they didn't follow it. Gemara says, this question was posed, as we said, to Dvar Hashem, people who heard the Dvar Hashem, Chachamim and Nevi'im, prophets. None of them had the answer. I mean, it was an obvious answer. If you don't keep the Torah, things are going to happen. He said it in the Torah openly. What, they didn't know these were Chachamim, these were Nevi'im. Hashem himself had to reveal Al Ozvam es Torasi. They forsook the Torah. It's amazing, ladies. So the Ran quotes the Rabbeinu Yonah who asked, could something so obvious elude the Chachamim and Nevi'im? And the Gemara explains Al Ozvam es Torasi. They're forsaking the Torah. What does it mean? They did not make brachas before they learned Torah. There's birchas HaTorah that we make in the morning before learning Torah. And they didn't do, they learned Torah. That's why they didn't know the answer, Al Ozvam es Torasi. Because they saw everybody learning. There was a lot of learning going on. There was a lot of mitzvahs going on. There was a lot of frumkeit all over the place. They didn't block the roundabouts, but there were all kinds of frumkeit, all kinds of. And even further, Al Ozvam es Torasi. The first Beis HaMikdash was destroyed because of Gilarai, Shvichas Damim, and Avodah Zarah. So how can you say that they didn't follow the Torah? How can you say it's because they didn't follow the Torah, didn't make a bracha, when it says openly they did these terrible averos? So it's very confusing here. You follow the problem. First he says, why did it happen? Al Ozvam Torasi. Why didn't the Chachamim know it? Well, because they didn't make brachas HaTorah. But you said it's because of Avodah Zarah, Gilarai, and Shvichas Damim. What? Hello, you hear? It's very strange. So the answer is like this. The reason they didn't know the answer that the Gemara had to give, because that Hashem said, Al Ozvam es Torasi, because there was a lot of Torah learning. So that's why they didn't know the answer. But what happened there? Why the discrepancy? Because you're telling me that because they didn't make brachas, that's why the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed? Oh, they didn't make it. Hello, it happens. No, it didn't happen. It happened regularly, but it happened. So what? It was only they didn't make a bracha. They didn't do anything, but they did do things. They did Avodah Zarah. What's happening here, ladies? Listen to this. So the Navi Yeshaya has an answer for us. The Navi Yeshaya says like this: what does he want from you? This is the pasuk in the Torah. Es Hashem Elokecha loleches b'chol d'rochov ulahava es oso, and to love it. Says the Navi Yeshaya when he was rebuking Klal Yisrael, v'haya, and it will be. V'hayolohem Dvar Hashem. Dvar Hashem spoke and said, Tzav l'tzav, tzav l'tzav. A command to a command, a command to a command. Kav l'kav, kav l'kav. A line to line, a line to line. Zer sham, zer sham. Little here, a little there. Also, what's that all about? So you have to, I'll give you an example and you'll get, I think, a depth of understanding about what's really going on here. Can you imagine there's a globe of the world, beautiful map of the world, a big globe, and it's placed inside an even bigger globe. And the bigger globe has 613 little windows. And if you open up one window, what do you see? One mitzvah. When you open up another window, what do you see? Mitzvah. Says the Navi, tzav letzav, command to command. All they did was what the command. I did it. I'm doing it. I'm doing what I'm doing. They say this mitzvah, I do this mitzvah, I do that mitzvah. They missed something absolutely crucial. that the whole thing, the whole globe, you had to open up all the letters. You have to do all the mitzvahs. You have to do all the learning. You have to do. It's one thing and one thing only: to do what Hashem wants. I have to tell you something. I was dealing with somebody about a shidduch. Okay, their son was going out shidduchim. Very, very phenomenal young man. The parents happened to be Balei Tshuva. Very, very special. Extremely. I mean, I can't tell you that they've totally, how should I put it, become part of the environment as it is. You never know. But of course, the shidduch was with somebody in Bnei Brak. Big Rosh Shiva, a big Lam, big Rosh Koil. Yeah, I don't want to go into the whole story about the Balei Tshuva business. I want to tell you one thing that was said. Finally, they had Tanoim, and it was the time what they called Shabbos of Gehenna, when the chassan has to go to the Kala's house, or vice versa, right? It's called Shabbos of Gehenna. So this poor kid has to go to the future in-laws for Shabbos. So the mother says to him, honey, just do me, your mama, just do me one favor. I don't care what it is. I don't care how much you didn't like it. Just contemplate. You should compliment one dish. Just give a compliment about one of the dishes, one of the servings. And then she said, and one other thing. And when you're finished, get up and take off at least a glass or one dish and take it off the table. So he said to her, but Mama, it's not Mikubal. They don't do those things. So I said to her, say to him like this, my darling, you know what's Mikubal? Mikubal is to do what Hashem wants you to do. Now you stop and think, is this what he wants you to, how he wants you to behave? Or do you want to do what's Mikubal? What's accepted, what everybody else does, what the yeshiva bachrim do, or they don't do, or they will do, or they can't do, whatever. Do what Rabbi Shlomo was. Don't do it tzav l'tzav, kav l'kav, zer sham, without the whole picture. What's the whole picture? I'm going to do what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants. That's what I have to do. Do I want to start up that spark? That spark that's within each and every one of us now? The way to wake it up is to stop and think before I do any mitzvah. Anything, anytime I make a bracha. Stop and think that I'm behaving this way because this is what Hashem really wants. And I know that. And I accept it with my full heart. And I'd like to do it in a way that I can see all 613 mitzvahs. I want to open up the whole globe because that's your Ratzon Hashem. And that's what Yeshaya Novi said at the end when there was a Churban. Vayomer Hashem Yan, as he said in the name of Hashem Yan, Ki nigash ha'am hazeh. This nation approached me. Ki bepiv u'bisfosav kibduni. With their mouths, with their lips, they honored me. But libam rachok mimeni. All they're doing is what they were trained to do and not what they want to do, and not because I'm asking them to do it, and not because of me. I've been left out of the picture. They left my Torah. What does it mean to leave the Torah? They didn't make the brachas. Now, what does it mean not to make the brachas? The brachas Hashem is like this. We say, "V'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah, v'harevnu Hashem Elokeinu as divrei Torah b'nu, b'v'yamcho beis Yisrael." Why make it sweet? I want to do it because I want to do it because this is what you want me. Make it sweet. V'harevnu Hashem Elokeinu, v'yamcho beis Yisrael. And then what else do we say? A second bracha. Asher bochar bonu mikol ha'amim v'nosan lanu es Torasai v'chaya olam nota b'socheinu. Banu shel olam. You chose us. You wanted us. Specifically, you gave us all the kelim, you gave us all the necessary elements to be able to fulfill the Torah. You gave it to us, and you chose us. For what purpose? Asher kiddushanu b'mitzvosav. You made us holy. And then, you wanted us, every time we make a bracha, for a mitzvah, Asher kiddushanu b'mitzvosav. You made us holy. Yeah, holy. Holy means separate, different, above, greater, spiritual. That's what kiddushanu is. Asher kiddushanu b'mitzvosav. This is what they were missing. They weren't just missing saying the words. They were missing the actions that the words imply. V'lo shamu b'koli. And I don't know how many times I've said this to you. What does lo shamu b'koli mean? Doesn't mean he didn't listen to what I was saying. When Avraham Avinu said to Sarah Imenu when she wanted to kick out Yishmael, which they did eventually, but not soon enough. But they kicked out Yishmael, right? So Avraham Avinu didn't want to do it. What did Hashem say? Kol asher tomar elecha Sarah. Whatever Sarah says to you, Shema, listen, bekola. Doesn't say lidvareha, what she's saying. It says listen to her call. Listen. Well, what's behind it? Do you not hear the emotion that she is expressing? Do you not recognize what she's fearful of? Do you not recognize Avraham Avinu? That Sarah is caring about Yitzchak and the effect that this Yishmael can have on Yitzchak? And don't think that, leaving all the other, just out of cute, I just want to make a point. That's not political, please, I promise. It's not do politics. But don't think we're not learning from the Middle East. We Jews. We've learned a lot. If you have to drive a car, then you know that you've learned a lot from we, the Jews, have learned a lot from the Middle East. Or you have to stand in line in Yesh. You got to get your elbows sharpened up enough so that nobody else is. Where did that come from? Is that Jewish? Is it really Jewish? It's not Jewish. Because we didn't listen to the call. Hashem is saying, I want you to be from, I want you to do mitzvahs, I want you to do good things, I want you to be a mensch of all things. But listen to what I mean. When I'm telling you to do this, is because I know that this is going to turn your spark into a fire. That's how you turn your sparks into a fire. Every time you make that bracha, stop and think, Hashem, every mitzvah you make, you like licht, make the bracha asher kiddushon. What? B'tzivonu. What? Lahavdik ner. To become enlightened, to become closer to you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's not enough to become a Talmid Chacham. You gotta utilize the ability to study Torah, to learn Torah on any level that you are, but to incorporate it into your personality. Midos. Why midos? Choices. Midos a choice. We're the only one that have midos. Animals don't have midos, they have instincts. We have midos. Animals are powerful. Animals do great things, far better than we can, much stronger, much faster, so on. They even eat better than we do. But the one thing they can't do is make a choice. Not preference, but a choice. Right or wrong. Good or bad. Only we can do that. And that is in our seichel. The balance. A balance. The Rambam, when he talks about midos, he talks about hilchos deos. Deos? What does that have to do with midos? Midos is how I feel, my emotion, everything that's inside of my heart, that I'm a good person. No. Deos. The word das means chibur, connection. Chibur. The Adam Yoda is Chava Ishto, right at the very beginning. They connected. That's the idea. Amida requires your connective ability to determine when, where, how much, if so, if not, should I, shouldn't I? That's what Amida is. It's balancing it, getting it to the middle, getting it into the proper. Well, sometimes you lean in one direction, sometimes you lean in another direction. But in this circumstance, what is the right thing to do? And that's why Amida is also called Amida. And this we've said many times. Because Amida means to measure. You go to the shoe store, what's the first thing they'll ask you? Ma Amida. What's your size? So what's that to do with Midas? So some say, well, because that's the way you size up another human being. That's very nice. But it's much deeper than that. We've done this. Anybody tell me give me a bad midah? Can you tell me a bad midah?
Taiva.
What?
Taiva.
No, taiva isn't really a midah. It's not really, well, it is to a sense. We'll call it a taiva. I got news for you. Taiva is not a bad midah. Taiva is only bad when you use it in the wrong way. Taiva, you and I wouldn't be here without taiva. Taiva is not a bad midah. Tell me a bad midah. Tell me a good midah.
Kina is bad.
Kina is good, bad only if it's not for Torah. Kinas chachamim marbe Torah. Okay, weiter. Give me a good midah. Come on, give me a good midah. What? Chesed. Of course. You ever heard of killing somebody with kindness? Yeah, so it's not such a good midah. Right? What about, I'll tell you something else. This is great. Whenever I'm speaking to a non-religious audience, and I ask this question, give me, a good midah. What do you think they'll say? Truth. They don't say that. Chesed is the first thing they come with, but not truth. And the answer is either one of them. Chesed is not totally good, and truth isn't always good. Even the Rabban Shalom lie. About Sarah and Avram said, she said, he said, or somebody's coming along and chasing you, wants to hurt you and harm you, and you come along, you say, yeah, go hide under the bed. And he knocks on the door, I saw Silver get in there, where is he? He said, oops, my mommy told me never to tell a lie. He's under the bed. Is that good to be telling the truth all the time? No. Is it good to be doing chesed indiscriminately? No. What does it depend on? The midah, the measure, how much, how little, when, where, and how. That is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, listen to my voice. Shema b'koli means hear what I want you to do behind. What is my intention in telling you to do it? Of course I'm doing it because you told me to do it. But what's your intention? What is your intention? I got 5 minutes. I just want to go to one more thing, to the second Beis HaMikdash. The second Beis HaMikdash was destroyed because of Sinas Chinam. Everybody knows that. And everybody knows about Avas Chinam. You got to, if we do Avas Chinam, it's not easy to love everybody. Just, it's, neighbor next door. You try, you want to be nice, you want to be civil. All of them. Right? Okay. It's not easy to love everyone. But this much I'll tell you. It doesn't say do chesed with only people you like. It says you have to do chesed with everyone. With everyone. The Gemara says that even when you're walking in a non-Jewish neighborhood, okay? And you're walking in the street, you got to smile and say good morning, even to a non-Jew. Show them your teeth. Smile, not your eye teeth. I mean, not the teeth that are going to bite him. No, just smile. Say hello. Give him a smile. Gemara says that the cholav shinayim, the whiteness of teeth, is better than milk, even better than doing chesed. Make people happy, for goodness gracious. Yeah, I always tell you this stuff. When we first came to Eretz Yisrael, I promised myself I would not become an Israeli driver. This is going back 40 years ago. Okay, not going to become. We lived in Beit Pagan. I worked in the old city, and I had to go down Derech Gaza to Mamila and into the old city. So before you get that, when you get to King George, So there's a Hitztalvut, there's an area where 4 or 5 arteries of traffic come together by the hotel, by the Milon Amlachim, and it all comes together there. I think they've changed it a little bit now too. But anyway, right? And when I would go, there was always such a bottleneck. It was impossible. You had to wait, 4 lights before you got through to get to it. Fine. So everybody you could see is inching to get ahead. I mean, from all sides. I'm in the middle because I was on Derek Hazard. They're coming to all sides. This one guy is coming. You can see the second. He's getting closer, getting closer. So I couldn't take it anymore. I stopped. I said, "Bavakasha, bavakasha." Looked at me. Ma, ani bavakasha, ta bavakasha, ta telech lishov. How dare you think you're going to give me the book? That's a true story. This is a true story. Okay, that's not what we're talking about. We've got to, all right, be nice to people. That's Abbas Chinam. I don't know how you can love everybody in the whole world. You can't love everybody in the whole world. They don't do good things. There are people that don't do nice things, even our brothers and sisters. Even our family sometimes. They don't do nice things. But you have to love them. You have to do chesed. And chesed, we want to stop the bloodshed. That's going to stop the bloodshed. Because Sinas Chinam caused that bloodshed all the way to flow from Beitar to the ocean. That was Sinas Chinam. Everyone thought that they were smarter, frummer, better than everybody else is not. Just accept and be, you try. I have my minhagim, I have my rabbeim, you have your rabbeim, but okay. I'm not imposing on you. Why do you have to try to impose on me? This is how we can do this. If we do this with a much more pleasant attitude, the whole world will change. Eretz Yisrael will change. And then we'll reach our destiny. That's how we reach our destiny. That's what these days are about. Reaching the destiny, which is ultimately Gilui Shechina, Kabbalah's Pnei Mashiach Mitzikenu, and Tchias HaMesim, and Olam Haba. That's what we're working towards. That's the end product. It'll be there. Hashem promised it. And I remember this, he should have a refuah shlema. Beryl Wine isn't well, but I remember we grew up. He's older than me, but we come from the same place. Beryl, he's not well. Yeah, he's not well. But I remember he said one thing. He said, "It's because Beryl Wine, Rabbi Beryl Wine. I think he's not well." So Beryl Wine, we go back because my father was his Rebbe, okay, in yeshiva. And my father used to schlep me as a kid for Simchas Torah. And in Simchas Torah, all the Bachrim would take little kids around and put them on their shoulders. And Beryl used to carry me on his shoulders. But I'll tell you this one thing he said, which always has stuck with me. Hashem made a promise. And one thing you can count on, that Hashem's promise is valid. It'll happen. His emes. And that's why the emes is together with Hashem kirachum v'chanun erech apayim b'rav chesed emes. What's emes doing in the Yud Gimel Midas Harachamim emes? Emes is truth, justice, the Tom, the Rab, right? No. Hashem's promise of what the world should be, will be, could be, and Be'ez Hashem will happen b'mheira b'yomeinu amen.
Pick up your phone.
It's not mine. It's Soleia's mother's name. I don't want it. Somebody else. Leave it. Let me tell you about leave it. When I was in Kfar Hasidim, Rebel Lapian Zachanei Tzadik L'Bracha, so you have to remember that Kfar Hasidim was, I didn't close it up. Kfar Hasidim, she should hear this. Are you listening? Okay. Yeah, so Kfar Hasidim, we had these huts. And that had a porch, the hut, And at the end of the porch was a bathroom. And about 5, 6 rooms of 4 guys in a room shared that one bathroom. Okay. Now I don't have to tell you then the plumbing in those days was not very good. Okay. In fact, it was pretty bad. So it was, they had buckets all over the, to put all the used stuff that you don't want to look at anymore. So they have buckets. So I'm walking by one day and I see Rebellia himself, an old man. He's in his close to 80. He was 87 when I came to. She was 89, 90. Yes, I see him bent over like this. I'm bent, look, picking up on. So I said to myself, well, I thought he was sick. I ran over to him. I said, Rebbe, are you okay? He says, yeah, I'm okay. I said, what are you doing? He says, we have ladies coming to clean up in the bathrooms here. I don't want them to pick up our schmutz. Up his dirt, our dirt.
Oh.
Our dirty things. I don't want somebody else to pick it up.
But see, here we're in America.
He's here.
Is there an American?
Who's they?
Oh, he's-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm glad we should probably coming. I heard it's quite.
I'm gonna send her a WhatsApp. Is he really?
No, he's bad. I mean, they told us to say tilling for him.
I don't know. It's in some hospital, but I don't know whether they took him to America.
I don't
with
think
them.
so. I don't think so.
What's his name? What's his name?
His name is Dove Ben. That's the right thing. Well, I have it right.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Dove Ben.
Just one name. Okay.
Dove, just the first name Dove, that's it. Is it maybe here? I just looked at it.
Oh, sorry.
Dove Ben.
I'll send it. Thank you. Thank you.
Dove Ben, I think it's,
Thank you so much.
you're so welcome. Regards home. Take
Thank you,
care,
Rabbi.
Sonia.
Thank you very much.
Wow, how are we doing? I'd like to see you in person one of these days.
Yeah, I don't have a car. Getting to Ramat Ben Shemesh is a
You're safer.
But yes, it's
Take
good
care.
to,
So
it's
nice
good
to
be
see
here.
you. You look
Thank
great.
you.
Good night, Nahara.
Thank you. It's good to be here. Take care. Bye.
I like it done.